Hello, this is Jeff from the future. This episode was recorded in 2020 as part of an original attempt at a music review podcast. The original idea was to discuss new music as it was being released, but 2020 being what it was, brought quite a few album postponements and other complications. So this series continued through 2020 and into 2021. We are now here in 2022 at the time I am recording this. So what you are about to listen to is not the Sound Judgment podcast, but an early iteration. Also, being that it was recorded more than 2 years ago now, some of our thoughts and opinions may have changed, considering that we are, in fact, people who are continuously trying to learn and better ourselves. Enjoy the show.
Do you like Alice Cooper, Jeff?
How many times have I gone to see Alice Cooper now?
Their early work was a little too art rock for my taste, but when Love It to Death came out in 1971, I think they really came into their own, commercially and artistically. The whole album has a crisp, clear sound, and a new shade of consummate professionalism that really gives the songs a big boost. He's been compared to Kiss, but I think Alice has a far more bitter, cynical sense of humor.
What?
In 1973, Alice released this, Billion Dollar Babies, their most accomplished album. I think their undisputed masterpiece is No More Mr. Nice Guy. A song so catchy most people probably don't listen to the lyrics, but they should, because it's not just about the pleasures of being punched in the face by Reverend Smith, it's also a personal statement about the band itself. Paul, and then I murder you with an axe. I just wanted you to not get American Psycho references again.
You're gonna keep reading more?
No, that's it. That's the American Psycho reference.
Oh, I had no clue what you were doing.
I know you didn't. I just wanted to do it.
You were reading something, so I'm just like, screw it. I'm going to take this time to shove tacos in my face.
I just modified the thing from American Psycho. I just wanted you to not get it again, because I've done it so many times.
I know you have. I'm sorry.
All right, but now we're actually going to talk about Alice Cooper.
Okay, well, power match to a whole mouthful of taco because I thought you were going to keep going.
That's fine.
So
no, I'm going to go into this. I'm going to go into this assuming most people have at least the most basic understanding of who Alice Cooper is as a musician. If not, I'm going to recommend the compilation Mascara and Monsters. It's actually the only compilation that obtained the rights to use music from every album from Love It to Death up until Trash. So most of his prolific songs are actually on it. Because there are best ofs that are just from the band era that won't have Poison or Welcome to My Nightmare due to rights issues, and there's later ones that aren't going to have School's Out or No More Mr. Nice Guy, or they have live versions due to rights issues.
So hold on,
and as much as
can I interject something?
Yeah.
Just to clarify, because I know this, you had to explain this to me because this really confused me. I did not realize. First off, I did not realize that Alice Cooper first released an album in 1969.
Yes,
he's been doing this a lot longer than I thought he has.
Yes. And if you're going to come into the band thing, I was about to bring it up.
I was going to say, because you kind of referenced it without explaining, because I knew that, I had no idea there was a discrepancy between the Alice Cooper band and Alice Cooper as a solo performer, because it's
because Alice Cooper started as the name of the band, and also he used it as a stage name. This isn't a bio, I'm not going to call him Vincent, but collectively they all owned the name Alice Cooper, and that'll come up later, and so it was the name of the band and also his stage name. And so the early stuff up until 1975, I want to say, Welcome to My Nightmare was the first one that wasn't the original band. Up until then, it's frequently referred to with fans as the Alice Cooper Band or the original Alice Cooper Band. So there are later ones that will have live versions of Skulls Out or stuff like that. And I think in this case, the studio versions are well known enough that they're worth having, or maybe it'll have come out before one of his biggest hits, usually Poison, came out. Mascara and Monsters is just a good starting point, and it's one of the few that has clones, and not liking that synth hook and clones is illegal in this house.
Okay, wow.
Yeah,
we're getting some harsh words already here.
You get arrested if you don't like that riff.
Wow, alright.
So the first two Alice Cooper albums are Pretties for You and Easy Action. Have you listened to these?
I have. They're
more art rock than I would like.
They are super psychedelic. I mean,
it is clear why Frank Zappa took an interest in Alice Cooper at this point.
This is definitely this is 1969. So in my mind, I'm picturing Jimi Hendrix. I'm picturing Cream. Like, this is psychedelic rock in, like, art rock at its, not necessarily finest, but at its most art.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Frank Zappa produced it. I think Frank Zappa produced it, but unfortunately they are not of the same caliber as Frank Zappa, either humor or talent-wise.
No, but I think Frank saw... Like, he saw potential in this, and he's like, I want to grab onto this, and I want to give these guys, like... Let's give them a pedestal to stand on because there's something here.
Yeah. I'm going to say if you really want a taste of this, you could check out Reflected from Pretty's For You, which was later reworked into the far superior Elected.
Upstanding with your head held high, you will be reflected. You look outstanding with your eyes in disguise, just beyond Damascus.
And if you really like Paul McCartney Beatles, Beautiful Fly Away on Easy Action's kind of fun. Oh. But the best song from the time period I don't think was ever actually put on a studio album. It's called Nobody Likes Me.
I don't think I know it.
Do you know Nobody Likes Me?
I do not think so.
There's a live version on some early years collection. There's a few demos floating around, but that one's actually kind of fun.
So, okay, so like I know the first two albums are like the super art rock. I'm looking at the discography here, and I'm looking at Love It to Death. Is that another one of the more art rock albums?
Or no, that's the one where they really became like a classic rock machine. That's the one with I'm 18 on it.
Ah, okay, now that I'm looking at the track listing, yeah, okay. So this is when it, like... So it really is just those first two albums.
The first two.
You go like, what is happening
Maybe Black Juju a little bit on that third one, but, like, that one's really where they were, like, started honing into, like, the Detroit sound with Iggy and MC5 and stuff. That's really, I think, the first essential album.
All right.
I mean, I'm 18, Caught in a Dream, Ballad of Dwight Fry.
Yeah. Like, this is when, I mean, this is kind of like when most people think of Alice Cooper. This is probably the earliest example of what people actually picture.
Of what they're thinking of.
Which is that, like, super sticky, shock rock, snake around the neck, makeup, singing these, like, otherwise kind of classic rock, dad rock sounding songs. You know, what we now would call dad rock. But, you know, again, this is super early. This is still 1971.
Yeah, this is still faking hangings and couldn't afford a snake.
Oh, is this even pre-Snake? Okay.
But I don't think the Snake came in until Welcome to My Nightmare, but yeah.
I wasn't sure. Like, either way, like, this is, like, stylistically, this is what now sounds like dad rock, but in 1971 was not risque, but what's the word I'm looking for? Like, this was shocking.
Well, this was offensive and shocking, yeah.
Yeah, this was offensive music at the time.
I mean, and you look up the videos, and you can, like, kind of see it. Like, do you ever see the hanging video he did from, like, the 70s?
Yeah. It is genuinely not okay in a lot of ways.
Uh-huh. And it really helps because all the videos in black and white and grainy.
Ooh, that does help. There is something about that, like, overall image that just kind of adds to it, I think.
Yeah. Then, that same year, they put out their second Central album, Jeff. And my favorite, Killer.
Killer?
Killer. The one with Under My Wheels.
I'll say, so why is this your favorite? Is it because of Under My Wheels? Because that's a great song.
Telephone is ringing. You got me on the run. I'm driving in my car now. Anticipated car. I'm driving home to you, babe. I guess that you couldn't see, yeah. But you went under my wheels, son. Why don't you let me be, yeah.
That's a great song. I think Halo Flies is a much stronger jam song than Black Juju, but overall, I think it's just one of the most solid. Like, I don't think there's really a weak track on it.
I actually never think of the song Halo Flies, even though I know it's kind of like a fan favorite in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I never think about it, actually.
I think it's a great song. Here's my first hot take, though.
Okay.
Skulls Out. Great rock song, not an essential album.
Let me look at the track listing real quick here.
It's not that it's a bad album. I just think it takes place between two much better albums.
Yeah, I do know most of these songs at least, and this is definitely not anything I super care about.
Yeah. This is where he starts playing with other genres, though, but I think he would do it better later. Like, I think Blue Turk is kind of fun, but I would be surprised if anyone went into this after Love It to Death and Killer ready for this weird jazzy song with a trombone solo. Yeah. Or a song about how he'll miss his classmates in Alma Mater.
Yeah. This is definitely, I think, just, like, not what... Well, I mean, if he went in this direction more, then who knows, but considering the direction he did ultimately go in for the next 50 years, this is not what people wanted from Alice Cooper.
Yeah. It's also, I think it's fun that no one really knows if it's a concept album or not.
Oh, really? I never even thought that was a debate, but okay.
Yeah, no one's really sure. Well, it starts with Skulls Out, ends with Alma Mater.
Yeah, I guess
and
you're
there's
not
like a few things in the middle. It's good. It's like a C+, though. Because Billion Dollar Babies is way fucking better.
Billion Dollar Babies, I think, is... Looking at this discography, I think this is the first album that I'm pretty much on board for the whole album. Like, this is the first time I'm going, okay, I genuinely just want to listen to this whole album.
Killers, for me, is a little bit more, I think, of a fan favorite for me, but I still think it's like a very good album, and Under My Wheels is great. But Billion Dollar Babies is the first one where it's like every song on this is just solid, you know?
It is.
That's the one with Elected, No More Mr. Nice Guy, and... sexual harassment's never funny, except when it's Alice Cooper running from a little Christian lady.
Thanks for the clarification.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. And it's also the one I have signed.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
You were there.
Was I?
You came a little later in the day, but I had already met Alice Cooper when you showed up, and I
totally don't remember that being a thing. Sorry.
You're bad at this.
Yeah, what else is new? Like, we know this. I have the memory of Goldfish.
Yeah, it was at Steel City Con.
Well, yeah, I figured. I didn't realize that was a thing that you had this sign. Cool. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
And then there's only one more of the Alice Cooper band albums.
Muscle of Love.
What are your thoughts here?
I just don't think it lives up to the big three ones, and it's probably not as good as Skulls Out either, but there are things on it that I think are really fun. Like, I like Big Apple Dreamin', and I like Teenage Lament.
Skyscrapers and subways and stations, staring up at the United Nations. New York is waiting for you and me, baby, waiting to swallow us now. New York, we're coming to see what you're made of. Are you as great as you sound?
But, man, there are a lot of songs about his dick on this one.
I mean, I think the name of the album kind of says a lot.
Yeah.
So
it's hit or miss. It's hit or miss.
It's not a shining star of an album.
Have you listened to that one?
I have. I think I'm looking at the track listing. I don't really remember a lot of these. Like, they're not like I can't like sing them back to you. It's like I remember this. Not really well.
I didn't know if being a Bond fan you connected
well, I'll
to
say,
the man with the golden gun.
There is the man with the golden gun, which is, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what to say to it. It's the man with the golden gun. It's a song called Man with the Golden Gun. But then the split happened.
And Alice Cooper
happened?
has.
Do you know any details? What actually did happen? Because I do not.
The best, to my knowledge, the band just wasn't getting along anymore. I don't think Muscle of Love was what they wanted, really. I kind of think that was sort of like a we need to fulfill a contract type thing. I don't think the band was getting along as they used to. And they sort of took a break. Alice Cooper worked with the band to secure the rights to the name, to use Alice Cooper as a solo project. The rest of the band went on and put out one album as Billion Dollar Babies, and it was awful.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think
They put out an album called Billion Dollar Babies with another singer, and it wasn't good. Minor correction, the band was Billion Dollar Babies. The album was called Battle Axe.
I did not know that. I'm going to actually have to listen to that sometime.
You really don't, but go ahead.
Well, just out of, like, curiosity, I'm going to open up a thing here and remind myself, because that's, weird.
Yeah. But then, probably the most famous album by name is Welcome to My Nightmare.
Okay, and he had the rights to the name, like, even with the rest of the band's permission? Or was it at least legal?
I believe they had some sort of out-of-court settlement, is what they did.
Okay.
I don't think it was they were like thrilled about it, but I don't think there was like we went to court and settled.
They weren't fighting it tooth and nail for whatever.
Yeah. So I mean, and God, who even knows? They might have thought, this will never work out. But then, he put out Only Women Bleed and Cold Ethel and Black Widow and the title track. And they're all still fucking staples of his discography and live staples.
35 years later or whatever.
35 years later.
Yeah.
If let me squeeze you in my arms. If come and freeze me with your charm. Come on, go.
I mean, and the album's not as raw rock, but this is really where he began selling himself as the classic frontman and like a cultural icon. And this is when he started having TV musicals and was on The Muppets. And it kind of like the same trajectory of Ozzy from after leaving Black Sabbath. This is kind of Alice's Blizzard of Oz.
He was on The Muppets at this point?
Alice Cooper was on The Muppets.
I knew he was on The Muppets, but I assumed that was much later for some reason.
I mean, not much later, but the song he sang was, You and Me, which was only 2 albums later, so probably, I mean, it was before he started the cocaine years.
Wow, I did not realize he was on there that early. Okay,
it was between 75 and 80.
I did not know that, actually. Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, I was picturing him on The Muppets in, like, the late 80s, maybe. Although I don't know what drugs he was doing in the late 80s, so I couldn't tell you.
It's important to know that Vincent Price is on the lead into Black Widow.
Is that really important to know? Like, do we really need
Vincent Price is always important.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take your word for that, then.
Good. You should. Vincent Price is the most important thing on Michael Jackson's Thriller because it's the only part of the song that remains listenable. Well, and the solo. Is that the one with... Oh, no, that's not the one with Van Halen on guitar. Fuck that.
Yeah, no, that's Beat It.
Okay.
Which
well, Van Halen's the only listenable part of that song.
Which, for the record, Van Halen only played the solo on that song. You want to know who did everything else?
Who?
Basically the members of Toto.
That's... Wow, okay.
Because, for the record, they were studio musicians.
Right.
Like, that album is basically recorded by the guys who also did, Hold the Line and Africa and what's that other song that people for some reason talk about because because they pretend that Toto's actually good for some reason. But yeah, there's
only Africa.
There's a really Hold the Line is if you're gonna pick one song by Toto, it's Hold the Line. There's a really fun interview with Steve Lukather, who's the guitar player, talking about how Eddie gets all the credit for playing guitar on Beat It. And meanwhile, he's like, but I did everything else. But no one cares. No one cares.
This guy came in and played a solo, and I did everything else, and no one gives a shit about my work.
By all accounts, Steve Lukather could also play that solo without a problem. He just wasn't the name. It's honestly real funny. It's pretty perfect.
Then we have the weird disco period.
We like to throw our bodies around. We like to feel each other. We're all slaves when we hear that sound. Says dance, says dance, says we gotta dance, says dance. Ain't no two ways about
You know how we have that joke about like Kiss and Queen having like weird disco periods?
Yeah. I mean,
there's a reason
in all
that
fairness,
no one really talks about Okay, go ahead.
In all fairness, everybody had a weird disco period at some point.
They did.
And by some point, I mean like the mid-'70s when, that was a thing.
Uh-huh. And there's a reason we don't really talk about Alice Cooper's You Gotta Dance. The album's called Alice Cooper Goes to Hell, but like the most disco-y song on there is You Gotta Dance. Go to Hell and Guilty are a lot of fun, and I Never Cry is a good ballad. But otherwise, what a product of its time. Which should be appreciated as such.
Unfortunately, that is, I think, how you have to look at a lot of rock bands who existed pre-mid-'70s through the 70s, because they all did it. There's so many bands that have an album or two or three or whatever that people just go, but what happened? Why did you do this?
Have you listened to this one?
I know a couple of these songs. Like, I know You Gotta Dance. I know I Never Cry.
This is the one with this classic cover of I'm Always Chasing
Rainbows. I was just going to say, and there's, of course, I'm Always Chasing Rainbows, which is kind of hilarious that this is on here.
But it sure has aged like disco. Some of it. Some of it I think is fine. I think Guilty's fine.
I think there's a place for that. I have a playlist on Spotify that is just like, it is literally just disco songs by bands that were rock bands. It's like, it's literally just called rock disco.
But I think the next two albums are classic. Which are Lace and Whiskey, which I think is highly underappreciated. People know You and Me, which I think is great songwriting. But It's Hot Tonight is like super catchy. And then the song Damned If You Do. Did you ever hear a song that was like real super catchy in like a generic rock way? Like it sounds like a song that you feel like you've heard before, but you know you haven't.
I mean, I know exactly what you mean. I genuinely don't know if I know this song.
That's just how I feel about Damned If You Do. Like, I have no idea if I've heard this song before I like listened to this album through the first time. But it just has that like ring of a song that I've known my whole life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get it.
But I'm a passionate man and I couldn't leave her alone. 'Cause you are damned if you do, damned if you don't, damned if you will, damned if you won't. Sometimes it looks so good.
And then Ubungi Stomp is just like a really fun take on like the Elvis rockabilly sound. It's just goofy and dumb as hell. Like, this is a fun album. But if you're a fan of his goofier shit, this is fun.
Yeah, not a casual fan, but if you are a more serious fan, this is...
If you know all the classic albums already and you like his goofier shit, this is a fun album. And then From the Inside, which is, as you know, one of my favorites.
Yeah, which From the Inside is... after he was in rehab for... he was just drinking at the time, right?
For alcoholism,
okay.
yeah.
I was like, I know he had phases of doing more than just drinking a lot of beer.
Yeah, this one was just alcoholism, and he went into an insane asylum to recover for a little while, and he came out with an album about being in an insane asylum. I think a lot of this album is fun, not so much in like the gritty rock way as some of the early band stuff.
Yeah,
but it's like that era of like Queen and Elton John, like Saturday Night's All Right for fighting Elton John, not like Crocodile Rock bullshit.
Yeah,
where it's kind of like badass, but this one's badass and dark and funny, and there's a really dark song about attempting suicide on this.
Which song is that?
The Quiet Room.
Okay, I was gonna say I know this album, but to me this album has a few songs I really like. And then a bunch of other things that I'm just not normally in the mood to listen to.
See, the only two on here that I skip occasionally are Wish I Were in Beverly Hills and Nurse Rosetta.
See, to me, this is one of those, like, I could listen to... So, I don't really think this is a hot take or anything, but just, like, my personal opinion here is How You Gonna See Me Now is one of my favorite Alice Cooper songs. Period. Yeah. Like, entire discography, this song is easily top 5. It's absolutely, it's beautiful. It's amazing. It is one of my favorite examples of, wait, you mean that weird guy who sang School's Out can actually write a really nice song? And that is How You Gonna See Me Now. Like, lyrically, I think this was one of the first times I went, oh, I should probably pay attention to his words more, because this is actually really cool.
See, I think that's like 3 in a row for me, because I feel the same about Only Women Bleed and I Never Cry on the past 2
Well,
albums.
Only Women Bleed was... I didn't know that one. Like, I'm pretty sure I knew the song How You Gonna See Me Now before I knew Only Women Bleed.
Okay.
So, I think that's why this is the one that holds, like, that place in my mind.
And You and Me.
I mean, see, again, You and Me is a song that I definitely did not know at first.
Right.
Only Women Bleed is another one that's just like, that is just such a brilliant song lyrically. But, I mean, in fact, we were literally just talking about this yesterday. I just found out, and I'm embarrassed that I did not know this, that Etta James, who is a very famous blues singer, has done covers of Only Women Bleed. Sorry, Alice, but hearing that song sung by someone who experienced that type of domestic abuse firsthand just really kind of gets to me.
Right.
This is one of those examples of just like, because of who this is, this became the definitive version of this song. Obviously, I love the Alice Cooper original, and I love the fact that, like, yeah, this man sat down and wrote this song. But just something about hearing Etta James sing it, it gets me.
Understandable. The only thing I didn't care for the arrangement of like the middle part, but like that's just a preference.
That's a preference. I mean, this is a little more. I'm definitely more into that style overall. So
yeah,
that's just something that gets me more.
But I and then Millie and Billy, I think, is like some of the funniest dark songwriting.
I mean, I think he has a lot of that, but yeah, I can get with this.
Just like a love song between two people in an insane asylum, and the refrain is "God made love crazy, he was thinking of us, he was thinking of us."
Yeah, this is definitely, again, like, I think Alice Cooper is super underappreciated as a lyricist to the casual fan, which just makes me go like, not that I'm gonna just like shove Alice Cooper down people's throats, but like I kind of want to at times. Like, here's 5 songs, please just listen to these.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, I mean, Jeff, this is the time for you to shove Alice Cooper down people's throats.
In some cases, yes.
Like right here, right now.
But I'm not going to. I'm kind of letting you do most of the shoving, because you know this discography much better than I do.
Well, I mean, I obviously want you to have input if you come to something. Like if you're looking at the track list as we go along and you want to talk about a song like this.
I am. I'm opening things as we go, just like, okay, wait, where are we here? Hold on, what's on this album? Because I'm really bad.
Well, guess what? We're off the alcohol. We're off the Jack, and we're on the Coke.
Oh, great! Wow, nice transition here.
I thought so. And we're gonna start to derail for a few albums, Jeff. We're gonna get some Gary Newman influence, and we're gonna do Clones, the best song.
We're destroying time. No more problems on the way. I'm through, doctor. We don't need your kind. The other ones, ugly ones, stupid boys, wrong ones. I'm all alone, so are we all. We're all clones. All the one and we're all the one and we're all.
Yeah, see, this is very genuinely an era that I kind of don't care about.
Well, I kind of like Clones. Talk and Grim Facts are okay. This is not an essential album, though.
Yeah, this is like, I barely know this album. It doesn't. When I have tried listening to it, it doesn't do anything for me. In fact, this little era here between Flush the Fashions, Special Forces, Zipper Catches Skin, Dada, like, this is, I don't care.
The Coke years. The Coke
years, Alice Cooper does nothing for me.
That is literally, and he does get back on alcohol near the end of the Coke years, but this is honestly the period where he says he doesn't remember. He remembers recording Flush the Fashion, and that's it. He doesn't remember the tours for Flush the Fashion or Special Forces, and he doesn't remember recording Special Forces, Data, or Zipper Catches Skin. He was so coked out of his head.
Yeah, and I think it shows. I really think it shows. I think he became much less clever in this era, and I don't even know who the band members were during this phase, but they were not really doing him any favors.
No. It's hard to say that it's not. There aren't some interesting glimpses of a guy who I think could make a phone book interesting. Just being all hopped up on cocaine and rewriting Generation Landslide, and writing a weird ass song about Zorro, and why is there an Ebenezer Scrooge song, and also I Love America is incredible.
I'm gonna take your word for it. Like I said, I really have nothing to say. I don't care about this entire era. In fact, looking at his discography, I can almost say there's almost a decade here that I just don't care about.
I've had you listen to I Love America before. It's the one where he's like, I love Velveeta cheese on Wonder Bread.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love those mountains with the 4 big heads.
Yeah, sorry, that's definitely not... That is the
it's
kind of
dumb
thing...
as shit, 10 out of 10.
No, it's dumb, and I think I think that kind of stupidity is totally interesting and fine in the right context. Like, for example, that is very Frank Zappa-esque.
Yeah.
But Frank Zappa backed that with some of
musicianship.
some of the craziest compositions behind it, and made that, like, you know, that the contrast of his lyrics to his music is the point sometimes. This is very generic rock and roll with really dumb lyrics for a decade.
Of the three of that one, I actually think Dada is the best.
What,
and
Special
it
Forces,
probably
Zipper,
has-
Catches Skin, and Dada?
Yeah, I think it's probably created at least one serial killer. There is some weirdly dark, uncomfortable stuff on this that I think is, like, in a weird way underrated. But, like, in a, I don't know what you're talking about, and looking back on it, neither does he. Like, he's like, I don't know what this album's about. I don't know what I wrote this about. I was so coked and boozed out of my mind. And he's, like, said this album actually scares him.
I can get that.
Do you, like, know anything off of this?
No. Not just by looking at the track listing, no.
Not as, like, this is great Alice Cooper work, but just as, like, this is something that you could get into after you know Alice Cooper a little better. But, like, a couple of these songs, like Formerly Warmer and Pass the Gun Around, I think deserve mention. It's just, like, these songs that I think, in my opinion, stuck with me, like, after the album was over. Just for being so uncomfortable and weird.
Formerly warmer pulls up the covers to hide in his wrinkled bed. No dreams go in, no dreams go out of the hole in his wrinkled head. Formerly warmer. When I hear...
Especially because Formerly Warmer is, like, this weird song, this weird-ass song about, like, having like, a deformed brother trapped in an attic. And he, like, has to, like, go up to the attic and, like, unlock the door and take care of his brother, and they keep him locked in the attic, and, like, he doesn't talk. And then it immediately goes into a song about, like, him playing a mall Santa. There's such, like, a whiplash between Formerly Warmer and No Man's Land that's, like, so strange.
Oh, okay.
Because it's just, like, it just goes into this weird... And then Enough's Enough is so strange because it's, like, it's got this bouncy, upbeat riff, but it's about, like, the father's abusing his kid and maybe murdered the mother.
And
We're
maybe.
not real sure.
Maybe. We're not sure. It's fine.
Well, there's one line that's like, hey, Dad, what'd you do to Mom? And then they never bring it up again.
So I'm looking at the Wikipedia page here, and I really like this two quotes. Guitarist and co-songwriter Dick Wagner revealed in 2014 that Cooper had relapsed to drinking heavily during the recording of Dada. Yeah, we just discussed that. And suggested that the album was a contract fulfillment requirement for which Warner Brothers was not pleased, and consequently made no effort to promote. Also, apparently, according to this, there was no tour to promote Dada, and none of these songs have ever been performed live.
Yes.
So this really is, like, an album that I think you can just forget about. I'm sorry. Like, as a more casual fan, like, that you don't...
As a more casual fan, absolutely. As a if you're interested beyond casual fan, it's a weird, interesting album.
I think it
Good might be a strong word.
I think it might be interesting in, like, if you are looking at the discography as a biography of Cooper's life.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting and important then. But I think as far as musical, as a musical album goes,
musical significance in the grand scheme of Alice Cooper's, no, there's nothing on here that you need to know. I'm merely putting forward that there's a few songs on here that I think are interesting and perhaps underappreciated a little.
Yeah, I mean, all right, I can appreciate that. I mean, quite frankly, here I'm actually looking ahead a little bit. And I don't really see a whole lot that becomes super important again. Well, the next album has a couple songs.
Constrictor?
The album Constrictor has a couple songs. I don't know, was he getting clean again during this? Because this definitely looking at this track list and going, okay, I know some of these songs. This is becoming music again.
Yeah, this is after he took a 3-year hiatus from the music industry and came back clean and doing hair metal.
Yeah, I would say this is definitely also like the hair metal era.
This is one of the 4 hair metal albums, which is a lot of hair metal.
This album apparently also features Kip Winger.
This is my least favorite hair metal album. It also
bass
features
guitar.
Kane Roberts, which is fucking terrifying. You ever see him?
I was gonna say Kane Roberts is that big scary man, right?
Yeah, he is just giant muscle.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought that's who this was. So I mean, this album, as far as I'm concerned, really all that's super important is Teenage Frankenstein, which is not his best song about Frankenstein.
No,
but is I think this album, like, as someone looking, decades in the future, looking back at this is an album of getting back to form after a decade of garbage.
Yes, and the follow-up, Raise Your Fist and Yell, actually is where genuinely there's some really good stuff on this. Like, Roses on White Lace is underappreciated, but it's one of my favorite Alice Cooper songs.
Also, it had the single Freedom, which I actually don't know this song. I don't think, at least. Okay, I'm not super familiar with Raise Your Fist and Yell, although I do know the album cover very well because it's creepy. It is, fist with his face in it.
Roses on White Lace is the one where they played it live, and I said this is like, that one was almost a King Diamond song.
In my eyes, blood drops look like roses on white lace. They won't wash away. In my mind, they're roses on white lace. Straight from the heart, so dead upon the bed.
Oh, yeah, okay. I get it.
Yeah, and then after that, he did the most famous of the 4, which is Trash.
Which has
a little song called Poison you might have heard.
Well, which has a little song which I think is definitely a fan favorite, which I admit, and I think we've talked about this before, I did not know this song the first time we saw Alice Cooper.
Poison.
I did not know Poison. That was legitimately my introduction. Yeah. So here's my thing, is I went in, you kind of made me an Alice Cooper fan over the past, 6-7 years or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Because my previous understanding of Alice Cooper was the dad rock stuff. School's Out, in my mind, was my definition of what Alice Cooper is, which is totally fine, but as someone who already listens to a lot of, like, blues-based classic rock from the 70s, I didn't need another one. I was unaware of how clever Alice Cooper really could be. I didn't know songs like Under My Wheels.
Yeah.
That were from that era. So, like, I genuinely had no idea that he had this kind of... that he was, like, this clever and this interesting. And I really didn't know a whole lot about, like, the hair metal era.
This might shock you, then. This might shock you, then. Poison is tied with School's Out for his highest charting single.
Is it really?
Number 7, both of them.
Genuinely did not know that.
I actually knew Poison before, like, I listened to Alice Cooper from, like, those old... You remember those commercials for, like, the Time Life CD box sets or whatever the fuck they were?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on, like, a Power Ballads one or something. And that
Really?
was like the first thing like I knew about Alice Cooper. It was like that's the song from that Time Life thing.
That's actually really funny.
Because back then I wasn't even listening to music really. I was like waiting for X TV show to come back on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I did not know that. I mean, genuinely, if it's a song that maybe I've heard before, but I definitely didn't know it. I did not learn to know the song Poison until, what was that, 6-7 years ago now, I guess.
Yeah. Trash is good. I like Trash. I like Bed and Nails. Do you know the song Hell is Living Without You?
I do. This is an album that I have since come to know, not like super well, but like I know this fairly well.
I love the way he like wraps the lines around with Hell is Living Without You.
What do you mean?
When he's like burning inside this hell is living without your...
Burning inside this hell is living without your love. Ain't nothing without your touch. Me, heaven would be like hell is living without you.
He does that thing where like one word is being shared. It's the end of the previous line and the beginning of the following line, which is the kind of thing that you see a lot in prog rock that I usually think is done poorly because it usually feels very forced.
But I think in this case he did it very well.
I think it's very cool here, considering the fact that I didn't even like actually recognize what you meant at first.
Yeah. I think that's a very clever example of it. And then we got Hey Stupid.
Yeah, then we got Hey Stupid.
No, I like Hey Stupid. I like about half of Hey Stupid.
I mean, Hey Stupid has the other song about Frankenstein that I think is super important. Mostly because, in a live context, it is one of the greatest spectacles I think possible.
I honestly think, like, the first, 4 songs are a lot of fun on this, and then also Feed My Frankenstein.
I'm looking at the track listing. I mean, Hey Stupid's fine. Love's a Loaded Gun is a good song. Snakebite, I actually can't think of how that goes. But this is again, Alice Cooper's kind of like becoming what my mental image of him was, actually.
Yeah,
this is kind of an era where I'm like, I'm finally getting to, okay, I know what this is. Also, I just found out, hold on, I feel really, really weird right now.
Yeah?
I was 100% unaware that Slash and Joe Satriani played guitar on this album.
What about Steve Vai?
I knew that.
Oh, okay.
I knew that Steve Vai was on Feed My Frankenstein. I was unaware that so was Joe Satriani, and that Joe Satriani is also on 4 other songs on this album. And I was unaware that Slash was on this album.
I'm actually not sure, now that I'm looking at it, I'm actually not sure where Ozzy Osbourne is on Hey Stupid.
Apparently he's a guest musician somewhere. This is also news to me, but I don't know.
Well, I'm seeing he's a guest musician specifically on the title track Hey Stupid, so I don't know. I'm assuming backing vocal somewhere. I don't know where.
I don't know either. I'm going to have to listen to that again and like really keep my ears open for Ozzy's voice because I don't know. But, I mean, that's interesting. I knew Vi was around. I did not know the others were on that album. That's kind of cool.
We're all learning today.
We're all learning everything. Can we talk about The Last Temptation?
God, I fucking love The Last Temptation.
Can we talk about the fact that, honestly, all that really matters on this album is the song Lost in America?
This whole album,
this is a good album. But if you have to take anything out of this album, please listen to the song Lost in America, which I don't want to spoil the lyrics for anybody. It is the most fun, blunt critique of American culture I think you could ever find.
It really is. That's actually incredibly true.
And I do not want to quote it because I genuinely do not want to spoil this song for anybody.
No, it's really good. I think Sideshow's a lot of fun. I really like Chris Cornell doing backing vocals on Stolen Prayer. I like the way he fucking goes ham on the last verse on it. And really hits those Chris Cornell notes.
I was going to say, I just like Chris Cornell going
things.
ham on anything. Chris Cornell can pretty much do whatever he wants as far as I'm concerned.
Alice brought back his little ballads and did It's Me, which I think is a very nice song.
It's Me is a very nice song. I do like ballads by Alice Cooper.
Yeah, he's really good.
he does good ballads. Like, he's not a phenomenal singer, but he writes great ballads.
This whole album, I'm just looking at, and there's not a weak track on it to me. The weakest part is at the beginning of Lullaby. There's like that ambient minute that doesn't need to be there.
I will never understand.
It should have been put at the end of Holy War.
Yeah.
That's my negative review. 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I gotcha.
This album is one of my favorites. You know what else is one of my favorites? Is Brutal Planet. This is
Brutal
the first
Planet?
time. This is the first time that Alice Cooper got a 1-2 punch on me since like Love It to Death Killers on like 5-star albums, in my opinion.
Oh, Brutal Planet, I think, is another one. Like, and this is sort of like, I don't really want to say it's just like quote unquote like the modern sounding of Alice Cooper, but this is definitely like the most heavy metal that's not hair metal album.
This is kind of a new metal period in a way.
Yeah.
But I don't want to like throw that concept out like he's doing like Korn or something. It's just like it's not quite heavy metal like he's not doing Slayer or anything like that. But there's like a real punch to the guitar like that you get in new metal like
yeah.
that real punch.
I am a vicious young man. Oh, I am a wicked young man. It's not the games that I play, the movies I see, the music I dig. I'm just a wicked young man.
This is his second Jesus album. It's just conceptually an album about how shit the planet is.
Okay, so that's... Hold on, speaking of, like, phases of Alice Cooper, we had, like, the psychedelic phase, then the dad rock phase, then, like, the alcohol and the cocaine years.
Hair metal years. And then starting with Last Temptation is Born Again phase.
I totally forgot the Born Again. I mean, that's not like a phase. It's still like it's still part of.
It's
who
still
he
a thing,
is.
but like there were a couple albums where the religious symbolism was a little more visible. I don't think he ever got preachy or ever got like obnoxious with it, but there's definitely some tones there that I'm not even 100% sure I can call undertones. They're just kind of tones.
No, but it definitely did shape the way he was writing songs at this point.
Yes, absolutely.
Not musically, but definitely lyrically. And I mean, you can just read a couple of these song titles, and it's just like, this is, I think your description is this is an album about how awful the world is. Brutal Planet, Wicked Young Man. The next song is called Sanctuary. Like, yeah, there's some themes going on here that I think directly relate to what he was doing with his life, and again, like where he still is.
And Take It Like a Woman is an inferior Only Women Bleed.
It's
still good.
But I will appreciate the fact that he is still fighting that fight.
Yeah, it's still a good song. I still really like that song.
Yes, I agree.
Then came Dragontown, which is... We didn't need another one. We didn't need another Brutal Planet.
I'll say I'm looking at this and I'm going, I don't remember this. I even know that I've listened to this album and I don't remember it.
It is Brutal Planet 2, and it's just not as good. The best thing on it, I think, is Disgraceland, where he makes fun of Elvis for like 4 minutes.
Yeah, okay, I remember that.
And actually, the bonus track, Can't Sleep, Clowns Will Eat Me, is kind of funny.
Okay, so I'm actually just looking real quick. I'm looking through the rest of his discography. I don't actually have a whole lot specific to say about any of these other albums up until the newest one. So if you have more to say, go for it.
That's actually a shame, because I think starting with Eyes of Alice Cooper, well, this is where he starts stripping back down into more straightforward dad rock. I don't think any of these following albums are as essential as anything he did back in the day. But there's a lot of like fun gems in here. I think Eyes of Alice Cooper is a really fun album. What Do You Want With Me? What Do You Want From Me is a fun opener. This House is Haunted is a interesting little take on the haunted house story, where he's being haunted by his dead wife, and so he enjoys the haunting.
A little voice way deep inside told me she was gone. This house is haunted.
Okay.
And I made you listen to the song that didn't rhyme.
Yes, you have.
And Detroit City is the song that the re-recorded version is the one that opens up the recent Breadcrumbs EP. Because he did Detroit City 2020 to open that cover EP.
Okay, yeah.
This is an inferior version, but it's still fun. This is, like, Eyes of Alice Cooper's a fun one. Along Came a Spider is a concept album about a serial killer, and I think that one's a lot of fun. That's another one that features Ozzy and Slash. So it's a little heavier, but not in like a Brutal Planet way. Just like in a like kind of proto-metal way.
Yeah.
Welcome the Number 2, My Nightmare, is the exact opposite, where it's very focused on the goofy and fun side of Alice Cooper. Last Man on Earth kind of sounds like a Tom Waits parody, and then there's Disco Bloodbath Boogie Fever, which is exactly what it sounds like. Then there's like
he did the description for you.
Then there's a zombie beach rock song if you want that. A dark blues rock song about killing your abusive parent. That's fun.
Always a great time.
He makes it sound fun. But it's one of those ones where, like, if you're looking for a more serious Alice Cooper album, like, you kind of move along. But if it sounds like fun, then you'll be having a good time. And then I do really like the new Paranormal album. This chunk of albums, Dirty Diamonds is the constrictor of the bunch, where it's like it's there and it's the least interesting example of this period. And another case of, like, sometimes a risky album that ends up bad is more interesting than just like a bland album, and this is just a bland album.
Okay, yeah.
Not big on Dirty Diamonds.
Okay, so because this is who I am as a person and as a music listener, as it should be a surprise to absolutely nobody, my favorite Alice Cooper albums are live albums.
Absolutely.
In fact, surprise, I like live albums. If you haven't seen this trend yet, I don't know where you've been.
What a shock.
Yeah, right? The most recent album is A Paranormal Evening at the Olympia, Paris. It is such a great mix of his whole discography. I mean, there's none of, like, the art rock stuff. None of the first two albums are here. But there's some super old stuff up into, Brutal Planet is on here, and that was what, 2000? It was in the more modern realm.
Yeah.
His band on here is phenomenal. We didn't really say a whole lot about his band. I kind of meant to, and I just totally forgot because I suck.
The thing about it is that like the original Alice Cooper band is a very solid group, and after that he just kind of switches out, like, after every album, and his live band is not necessarily the same as his studio band. Like, I think for his first band, his studio band was like the backing band for Lou Reed or something.
Oh, interesting. I mean, I genuinely have no idea. I
think it's like Lou Reed's backing band that did Welcome to My Nightmare.
There have been a handful of, like, key figures in his band, and then his current band his current touring band, at least, he's had for a number of years now, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, like, they're not on any of the albums. Like, Nita Strauss is incredible, has not recorded a song with Alice Cooper.
No, but they're a touring band, which, again, since I'm talking about the live albums,
right,
so that's kind of relevant.
Yeah.
His current touring band is, like, almost unfairly good.
Phenomenal.
They are just the most phenomenal, solid, hard rock band possible.
Yeah.
And it's great because they're a hard rock band. I want to say the drummer, I mean, they're all guys who have done, a million other projects. They're all on albums by a bunch of other people. They're all everywhere. And then there is Nita Strauss, who is completely left-wing. She is this super heavy metal shred player who does not fit overall in Alice's, like, dad rock style, but somehow she totally does. Like, he just fully embraced the fact that she is not a rock and roll player. He just embraced the fact that she is this crazy shred player. And she also does a really good job kind of fitting in, and I think she really shows off a lot on the A Paranormal Evening at Olympia Paris album.
Yeah.
In two ways. In a couple cases, she really shows off because she's phenomenal. And in a couple other cases, she doesn't show off at all. You can't really tell that she's doing anything different. So she's, I think, definitely a standout player in that she blended herself into this band so well. In most cases, playing songs that are older than she is. She's only in her 30s. So,
Well, do you remember the story she told when we saw her guitar?
her clinic?
Yeah.
Which one? I mean, she told stories for 2 hours.
The one where she was talking about how when she tried out for the Alice Cooper band, they told her to tone down.
Yes!
On the shredding.
Yes.
And learn to play, like, classic rock solos.
And then she basically did it, and Alice said, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Like, so one of, I don't know who it was, one of the producers or another member of the band, I don't know, they literally told her, like, this isn't a shred band, like, you gotta chill, like, you gotta learn how to play rock and roll. So she worked on it, I forget who she said she called, she took lessons off of somebody, and then she went back, and then Cooper himself is going, this isn't what you're here for, like, why are you doing this? Which is so perfect. So perfect. But, I mean, honestly, legitimately, I'm going to say the majority of my Alice Cooper listening is this album.
And
because
that's fine. Like, it's a very good live album.
Because it covers enough of his discography that, you know, I get what I want out of it. There are songs on here that I really like that are not... there are songs I really like that are not on here, which you're just going to get. No live album can cover literally everything unless the band sucks or doesn't have a large discography. But this covers the whole spectrum that I get what I want out of Alice Cooper.
You don't think that Alice Cooper could do like a 27 album live show? And just do 27 albums in their entirety?
In their entirety? I'm gonna say probably not. The man is getting up there in age. And that's also, like, probably more than a day's worth of music. So I'd rather he didn't.
Oh, trust me. It's more than a day's worth of music.
I was like, I know you've recently listened to all of it. I have not, like, made a playlist or anything to see how long it exactly is, but...
Well, some of them I know Love It to Death and Killer enough and $Billion Babies enough that I don't need to listen through them. It was like the ones that I don't know I brushed up on. I'm not going to give grades or a real ranking, but I've separated them into some categories.
Okay.
The 5 that I would call good candidates for Baby's first Alice Cooper album
okay,
are Love It to Death, Killer, $Billion Babies, Welcome to My Nightmare, and my weird pick is The Last Temptation.
Alright.
The 5 that I think are good if you want some great deep cuts are From the Inside, Brutal Planet, Skulls Out, Trash, and Lace and Whiskey. I know Skulls Out is the one huge song, but no one knows anything else from the rest of the album. Don't fucking lie.
Yeah, that's definitely, like, I remember when I listened to that album, I genuinely assumed I was gonna at least, like, be vaguely familiar with it, and no, like, sorry, I don't know Public Animal Number 9, no matter how much I pretend that I did.
Which is the, second most popular song off that album.
Is it really? I did not know that, actually. I just looked at the track listing and picked a song because I could have picked any of them.
I think I've seen 2 Schools Out songs live. Obviously, one is Schools Out, and the other one is Public Animal Number 9. I don't think I've seen any other song from Schools Out live.
I can't imagine he has reason to play them, because, I mean, again, so I know we've talked about this before, in my, well, you may have cut some of it in my rant about David Bowie, because I know David Bowie did that one tour where he only did new music.
Yeah.
Which no one wanted. Like, you have big hits, you need to play them live, I'm sorry.
Right.
Alice Cooper is definitely he's said multiple times, I know when we saw him speak, he said it, you need to play your hits, like, that's why you're here. You are an entertainer, and you need to accept that. I believe he even said, luckily I love my hit songs still, so I'm not tired of them.
Right.
But, like, so no, when you go see Alice Cooper, you're not gonna see deep cuts in that sense. You're gonna see songs that are
I was gonna say he's very good. He's very
Yeah.
good at finding a good balance between here's the songs that everyone knows, and he's gonna throw in a few for the fans that want some deep cuts.
But they're still fan favorite deep cuts. They're not throwing darts at a dartboard of random songs.
Right.
They are selected songs that are well liked among fans.
Mm-hmm. So
Which
then
is super important.
My next little section is like, okay, I've listened to the last 10. The other 5 that I think are significant enough are Paranormal, Eyes of Alice Cooper, Along Came a Spider, Welcome Number 2, My Nightmare, and Hey Stupid. Then we got the section that I think these are kind of interesting if you're running out of material. Raise Your Fist and Yell, Muscle of Love, Goes to Hell, Flush the Fashion Data. And then the section that you don't need.
I was gonna say, did you list Pretties for You and Easy Action yet?
This is the you don't need this. Zipper Catches Skin, Special Forces, Dragon Town, Constrictor, Dirty Diamonds, Pretty for You, and Easy Action.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think Pretties for You and Easy Action almost deserve their own section of. These are only really relevant if you are A, into art rock, or B, just want to know where Alice Cooper started.
Exactly, yeah. Except with a big thumbs up for Nobody Likes Me, which I think was a fun song.
I mean,
and it didn't make it to either of those albums, but that's fine too. How exhausted do you feel right now?
That's a lot.
All right, take us home, baby.
Take us home.
Take us home. Get in the fucking car. You're driving. I've been drinking this whole time.
Oh, go. Okay, great.
Yeah, you have to drive. I can't do it. You got to take us home.
Okay, I'm gonna take us home.
Here, take the keys.
Chris.
Yeah.
Are we done?
Oh, thank God.
No, you're supposed to say yes, and
I told you. You have to take us. I can't do this right now.
Okay, let's try that again. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Chris.
Oh, thank God.
No, you're still not getting it.
Okay.
I say Chris. You say yeah. I say are we done? You say yeah, and I say oh thank God.
Jeff, how'd you like the new Alice Cooper single?
Can I be 100% honest with you, Chris?
did you?
I didn't listen to it. I know you sent me the video, but like I didn't get around to listening to it.
10 out of 10 good content.
So hold on. Actually, I would love if we occasionally did a thing where we made the other person listen to a single song, live right then. No pre-scripted thoughts, nothing written down. Hey, listen to this. Let's talk about it. So this is a perfect time. If you would give me, 4 minutes or however long the song is, and I will be right back.
We're not fragile, and we sure don't break easy.
You know it's so hard to cope when you're just hoping there's hope. We're all hanging on by a thread. We're all staring at the razor's edge, but we're not gonna step off the ledge.
Welcome back. This is guided meditation.
No, we're not doing Canada Day.
Anyway, so Jeff, what'd you think of the new Alice Cooper song?
Okay, I'll say, hey, so welcome back to the first time we're doing this new bit that was accidentally started. First off, it is certainly an Alice Cooper song. He is so distinctive, it makes me
I
laugh.
think he even used the riff from Pick Up the Bones.
Here's some legs in a pile where my sister once played. Here's some mud.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
I mean, it's the same. It's the same, like
dun, 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 dun,
lyrical
dun, dun,
cadence.
yeah.
Well, I mean, like the guitar part is just sort of like just really simple, slow, arpeggiated chords.
But
even like the vocal rhythm is the dun 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 dun. It's not. I mean, it's super generic. Like it's. I mean, sure, we could find 30 million songs that do it, but that is pretty funny to hear him doing essentially the same thing again, which is totally.
I mean, it's definitely fine for
all
putting out a
beautiful.
quarantine song.
Yeah, I would say this is obviously just a song about the fact that we're all in quarantine. I mean, the song is called "Don't Give Up."
I want to say.
I was gonna say it. I was gonna say it begins with a little like spoken word, like pep talk, but then I realized like no, that's the verses. The verses are all these little spoken word pep talks, and it's like super cute.
It is very cute
coming from Old Man Cooper.
He's given us the strength to carry on until we can see him live again.
Yeah. Oh my god, I'm so excited.
He's
to see
so
him
much
again.
fun. I like that 4 years ago, I told you we should vote for Alice Cooper, and now that he has made a quarantine song for everyone, I believe he's actually done more for society during the pandemic than our actual president.
That's a bit of a hot take there, depending on who listens to this, man. Just saying. You did tell me to vote for, and I'm just going to throw this out there because it's not a secret. I did vote for Alice Cooper in the 2016 presidential election. I wrote his name in, and I do not care who knows that. Sorry, I refused to vote for either of the people who were seriously running. So I remember like on Facebook I had the Alice Cooper banner and like the profile picture with like his thing around it. Obviously, I'm aware the man wasn't actually running; it was purely just fun. But like, okay, so this is a cute song, and I really love his little pep talks here. I'm also always amazed. So I mean, the man has a very distinctive singing voice for the most part. He definitely has like a certain quality to his singing voice that always surprises me when I hear him speak. Like just how normal his voice is. Like this is obviously him putting on a voice that he developed way early in his career, and it sounds so uncomfortable to sing like that. I'm amazed he can still do it so many decades later. It sounds like he's straining his voice, although obviously apparently he's not. Otherwise, he would have lost his voice many years ago.
Well, and I've played you songs where he's. I mean, you've heard songs where he's clean singing, like.
Oh, I'm well aware. The man is not a great singer, but he is a better singer than I think I expected him when all I knew were a couple of the big singles. Like if all you know is "School's Out" and "No More Mr. Nice Guy," and then you hear some of his like more ballady songs, it's like, oh wait, this guy has like an okay voice. Like,
I do like that there are times when he clean sings on something that's not a ballad, and his voice kind of rings like Weird Al.
Okay, that's.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard like the song that didn't rhyme? I think it's called.
The DJs were offended, my union card suspended, Billboard declared it a crime. The melody blows in a key that no one can find.
Yeah, I get exactly what you mean. He literally just sounds like, he does sound a lot like a Weird Al with a slightly deeper voice here. It's pretty funny, actually. No, I don't know this song. When is this? What album is
I think that's The Eyes of Alice Cooper.
Yeah, I see that. I don't know this album at all. This has to be like a 90s or 2000s.
I want to say like mid 2000s, 2003.
Okay, I'll say because that's an era that I do not know of his.
What albums do you know best by Alice Cooper? Like, do you mostly know the band stuff?
No, I actually know his last few albums the best.
Like Paranormal
Probably.
and Welcome Number 2, My Nightmare?
Yeah.
Man, I actually really like Welcome Number 2, My Nightmare.
I mean, single album I know the best is probably Paranormal, actually. I love that album.
Well, you know Love It to Death and Killer.
Yeah, but I mean, the album that I think I listen to the most. Well, okay. I mean, let's be real here. You want to go? You want to take a guess what album I listen to the most? It's one of his newest
Is it
ones.
Breadcrumbs?
No, I do know Breadcrumbs. I totally forgot that that's a thing.
What?
No, he has a live album from
of
2018.
course, yeah.
A Paranormal Evening at the
You're right.
Olympia
Okay,
Paris.
yeah, you do love your live albums.
I listen to that album very frequently.
That's fair.
Surprise! I listen to a live.
Yeah,
album
that's a
lot.
shock.
And he actually has a couple live albums that I listen to.
He has a ton of
good
live
bit.
albums, though.
I mean, there's also Live at Montreux.
That's a
which is
great
just
one.
phenomenal.
Theater of Death is really good.
So
I have
good.
DVDs of half of these if you ever want to watch them.
Oh, do you? I mean, I guess it won't surprise me, but
Yeah, I am a huge Alice Cooper fan, so, and I know you know that. I don't know if everyone listening knows that.
yeah. But hey, surprise! Just in case you didn't.
But yeah, fucking surprise! I'm a huge Alice Cooper fan, and I think you could have a lot of fun going through the Alice Cooper discography because each one has its own personality and its own trip that he was on while he was doing it. Be it the alcohol of the early years, or the years he was doing cocaine, or the times he was just high on Jesus.
Yeah, I do need to dig into his full discography more. What I have a tendency to do is, I mean, I've seen him how many times now, is like looking up the set lists that he's going to be playing and make myself familiar with those songs, but not necessarily the full albums they're from.
And some of the stuff he's done, I think you would be surprised and interested in. I mean, I've talked to you and I've played for you the album From the Inside, which he wrote after.
Oh,
yeah,
it's
which he
phenomenal.
wrote after going to basically an insane asylum to get himself off of alcohol for a little bit, and that's where the song How You Gonna See Me Now comes from, is him thinking about how his wife will react to him coming out of the asylum. And the whole album is just basically about, like, you know, these characters that he met while he was in there. Lace and Whiskey, you might think is interesting because it's kind of a departure, because the album is him in the mindset of like a classic noir detective.
Okay.
Yeah, he sort of did a play on, you know, Inspector Clouseau on that one. That's the album with You and Me on it.
Oh, okay,
So-
okay, gotcha.
I'm personally a fan of like outside of the classics, because I love, you know, I love the first two band albums I'm not big on, but like not many people are. Like from Love It to Death to $1 Billion Babies, I think is like a perfect string of 4 albums, even if School's Out is like my least favorite of the 4. And I love Welcome to My Nightmare and From the Inside. But one that I don't think people talk about enough is The Last Temptation, which is the album that has Chris Cornell on guesting on a few songs. They did. They reworked. You being a big Chris Cornell fan are probably familiar with the demo version of Stolen Prayer.
I was unaware. I guess it's the demo that I probably know, but okay.
But it, like, he reworked into a full song with Alice Cooper.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure what I'm talking. Okay.
I believe it started off as a Chris Cornell demo, and then he and Alice Cooper like fleshed it out into like a different song and put it on an Alice Cooper album with Chris Cornell doing backup vocals.
Okay, so that's what I know of. I'm just thinking, like, do I know a demo? Okay, I didn't realize that. I tend to not pay attention to like things that are demo versions of songs. Like that's not.
Well, I
interesting
knew
to
it
me
as
at all.
like the Alice Cooper song, and then I was like, oh, there's also a demo of this that exists as just a Chris Cornell song. So I was like,
gotcha.
oh, cool.
I'm actually not aware of that. That's not a thing.
But it's
I
also
can
the
pay
album
attention
with
to,
Lost
so-
in America on it.
Oh, that's such a fun song though. Okay.
And that whole album is basically the devil trying to buy his soul.
Okay.
He likes themes.
Well, you know what? There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and I like it because he does it in an interesting way that there's like a running concept throughout, but not every song is a part of the story. Like
Yeah,
Welcome
I
to My
gotcha.
Nightmare is
I mean-
structured as, you know, it's structured as going through a series of nightmares, but because of like the ethereal way of nightmares, one doesn't have to transition into another one very well.
Yeah, it's a theme. It's not necessarily a concept album in
Yeah.
the sense of like it's telling a story, which I am 100%.
The story
on
is
board with.
is for like Welcome to My Nightmare is literally in like 3 songs.
Gotcha.
You know who did a really good cover of Welcome to My Nightmare? Ronnie James Dio.
Welcome to my nightmare. I know you're gonna like it. I think you're gonna feel you belong.
Interesting. All right.
There is a compilation of, well, it's a tribute album called Humanary Stew that I think you would actually really like.
Oh, okay. This is news to me.
Let me tell you. Now this is 1999, so you need to keep that in mind. That, you know, not everyone is playing their A game here. But Under My Wheels with Joe Elliott and Phil Collin, School's Out. Now you're gonna flinch here when I say Dave Mustaine, but I want you to give the version of School's Out with Dave Mustaine a shot.
Okay. I mean, that's not a song that I need like a great vocalist for necessarily, so that actually might work out. That might work out well.
Roger Daltrey and Slash on No More Mr. Nice Guy.
That's a cool mix. I don't think I've ever
Ronnie
heard that.
James
All right.
Dio singing Welcome to My Nightmare. Vince Neil doing Cold Ethel, which is probably the most I've ever liked Vince Neil.
Oh, interesting.
Who-
Okay, that's also
Who,
new.
for the
I don't
most
know
part,
any of these.
is a massive sack of shit. Yeah.
Vince Neil.
He killed
Yeah.
a guy. I want to throw that out there. He killed a guy. I just don't want anyone to forget he killed a guy, and he sounds like a cat now.
Reminder. I think everyone needs to remember
killed
that
a
he
man.
once killed a man.
I
For the record, he once killed a man he was like
Yeah,
friends
like they were
with.
in the car together on a beer run. He was drunk driving, and he killed the guy. And the part that makes it even more unforgivable is that he got another drunk driving charge after that, and not even like within the same decade. Like this was something that he'd learned nothing from.
Again, it's like this shouldn't surprise.
It shouldn't surprise anyone, but I think it needs to be brought
person.
up sometimes. I came up with a
Yep.
concept today. Of I think I want to do because I was showing one of my coworkers the Chubba B video.
Oh, okay.
and-
I love the
and-
Trouble
and-
video.
And I did the voice, and I think me, your brother, and my coworker all agreed that I should start a Motley Crue cover band, but do it as Vince Neil now.
Oh no, that sounds awesome.
Bruce
Jesus.
Dickinson doing Black Widow.
Okay.
Dee Snider and Zakk Wylde doing Go to Hell.
That sounds like a
Phil
phenomenal
Lewis and
mix.
George Lynch doing Billion Dollar Babies. And these are all super groups. I'm just telling you the guitarist and the vocalist because that's probably who you're going to know the best.
Wait, Phil Lewis. Phil Lewis? Why do I know this name?
LA Guns.
Thank you. I'm like, I know this name and I can't think of like who this is.
Only Women Bleed with Glenn Hughes and Paul Gilbert.
I am so insulted that I'm not aware of this. Like, this is so much. There's so
Don
much. here that I
Dawkins
want.
doing I'm 18. And
All
Steve
right.
Jones, Duff McKagan, Matt Sorum doing Elected.
I'm like mad. that I
Again,
don't
some
know
of these, not the best performances. It was 1999, but some of these are phenomenal. And this
Again, I'm
and
mad
this
that I
is
don't
something
know
that
this.
you could put on Spotify and listen to on the way to work tomorrow. And you should.
What is this called?
It's called
What's the name of
Humanary
this
Stew,
album?
a tribute to Alice Cooper.